like affairs of state.
When the entry was made during a party, the electronic devices installed in the guest bedroom, and electronic devices were installed off the phones, okay? The target was Jack Kennedy, period. Or Bobby Kennedy, period. Monroe just happened to be a part of that play. It was an accident. It wasn't something that anyone expected to get. It was a bonus.
During that time, Otash and his wireman, John Danoff, heard some X-rated material.
I heard the conversation in the bedroom, and I heard the sex act going on, and the springs were popping. And
during 1961 and 1962, the Kennedy brothers continued to show what appeared to be a cavalier attitude towards women. Marilyn Monroe was no exception. John Danoff recalls that Jack Kennedy said that he was finished with Marilyn Monroe because of heat from J. Edgar Hoover. So reportedly, he came up with a solution.
He was tired of her, and he tried to give her, or he gave her, I understand he gave her to Bobby, because in the same time that she was making it with him, Bobby was also playing with her.
Private Eye Otash says he was not the only investigator who heard these sensitive tapes, a fact that would be vital information for a grand jury.
I'm not the only man who was working the Kennedys, okay? I am convinced beyond moral certainty that there were so many bugs in those houses that there were bugs on top of bugs. A lot of people were involved in developing. J. Edgar Hoover wanted a derogatory profile on the Kennedys. The Republican Party wanted a derogatory profile on the Kennedys. CIA and FBI wanted a derogatory profile on the Kennedys. The Republican Party wanted that. So why do we always think organized crime would have loved to neutralize the White House? Because Bobby Kennedy was putting so much heat on everyone.
Marilyn's liaison was widely known among government circles and non-government circles, like the mob. Author Anthony Summers echoes dark theories about just how much the Hoods were interested in the reported affairs between Marilyn, Bobby, and brother John Kennedy.
There was a calculated attempt by criminals not only to set up Robert Kennedy to compromise him in terms of his affair with Marilyn Monroe, which would spell his professional and personal ruin, but even perhaps to try to set him up with murdering her.
Milo Spiriglio is a private investigator who has written 2 books on the death of Marilyn Monroe. He makes a stunning speculation that Marilyn Monroe was the victim of a contract killing.
You say you were hired or asked to do an investigation into the death of Marilyn Monroe about 15 years ago. Am I correct about that?
Yes, sure.
During the course of that investigation that lasted over some 15 years, did you come to a conclusion as to how Marilyn Monroe died?
Yes, we believe Marilyn Monroe died by injection and did not swallow the 47 Nebutel capsules as reported.
Who was there at the time?
2 hired gunmen from Chicago. They were ordered to kill Marilyn by Sam Momo Giancana, the head of the Chicago Mafia.
Marilyn's alleged promiscuity with Sam Giancana, President John Kennedy, and Robert Kennedy took on a deeper meaning when it was reported that Marilyn Monroe kept a diary listing the subjects she discussed with the men she went to bed with. Marilyn's girlfriend, Jeannie Carmen, remembers seeing that diary.
There were lots of things in there about Castro, about the CIA, about Hoffa, about Bobby, about John Kennedy. She wrote down everything.
In fact, Carmen and wiretapper John Danoff report that Marilyn had told them that if Bobby Kennedy did not make a commitment to her, she would reveal her involvement with him and with his brother, John F. Kennedy. She had threatened to make the announcement on August 6th, a day after she died.
There's been a lot of talk that Marilyn Monroe kept a diary. Any truth to that?
I saw her diary, yes.
What was the occasion for her showing it to you?
She was sort of pouring out to me a lot of things going on into her life. This was probably about a month before she was found dead.
Do you recall any items that you read?
Yes, she
had information in there about the plot to kill Castro.
There were references in that diary to a government plot involving gangsters.
That's correct.
To kill Fidel Castro.
Right.
And as far as you're concerned, that information could only have come from whom?
Bobby Kennedy. It was highly classified government information. Like I say, in some instances, quite a few of the instances, it was Bobby told me that, and that's how these were prefaced.
Through persistent efforts, startling information is revealed in an FBI document obtained by Anthony Summers through the Freedom of Information Act. The heading is, Subject Marilyn Monroe, Security Matter, Communist.
In a second part of the document, we see clear evidence that she had met with one of the Kennedy brothers in the first week of July and had discussed, quote, the morality of atomic testing. It's during the year and at a time of the year, 1962, that was the high point of concern about atomic matters in the whole of our history. 1962 was the year of the missile crisis, and in early July 1962, Khrushchev had sent the boats with the missiles on them to Cuba. Anything said by either of the Kennedy brothers indicating the way they felt about the atom bomb, even if it was only conversational stuff, anything they said on that subject would have been of great interest to either Soviet or Cuban or any communist intelligence. And so the fact is that we now know for the first time that Marilyn Monroe and her contacts with the Kennedy brothers were perceived as a real security risk. And they were perceived as a security risk in those crucial weeks right before her death.
You know, sometimes I have thoughts, well, okay, I could have saved her life. I'd have been there. Nothing would have happened. But on the other hand, she was going to talk to the press the following day or on Monday, and people might have been desperate.
I started this heat wave by in such a way that the customers say that I certainly can. No.
In the closing months of her life, Marilyn Monroe was caught in an ever-tightening vice. The President of the United States had allegedly passed her on to his brother, Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy has cut her off at a time when he reportedly discussed affairs of state during pillow talk. She is labeled a security risk by the FBI. She is in constant contact with a ruthless mobster. She has in her possession an unexploded bomb, a tell-all red diary. Now, Marilyn hits back. Enraged, she issues an unnerving ultimatum to Bobby Kennedy. Her life is at the eye of a storm.
I think she imagined that she loved him very deeply, but he was not difficult to love. He was an adorable little playmate. That's what I saw him as a little boy, a playmate. And maybe that's the way they were like two children together.
But there was a time that Bobby cut the relationship.
Yes, and that was near the time, near her death. He just completely cut the relationship. She didn't know why, and he disconnected his phone. There was no explanation, and she couldn't figure out why he left, why she couldn't reach him through anyone or anything. And I don't know, I keep thinking that it could have been something he saw in the diary prior to that.
At the time, towards the end of her life, did she discuss her attitude?